We've just got some breaking news in from Buckingham Palace, folks. So this statement has just come in from Buckingham Palace, and I'll read it for you. It goes on to say, His Majesty has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and...
Breaking news has emerged from Buckingham Palace, drawing immediate attention across the country. According to a newly revealed account, Catherine entered what she expected to be a routine private meeting. Instead, an aide quietly placed a recorder on the table and pressed play. Moments later, she heard a conversation that left the room in complete silence. The recording appeared to capture Queen Camilla discussing a confidential plan to transfer one of Catherine's future ceremonial responsibilities without informing her first. Rather than reacting emotionally, Catherine calmly stopped the audio, looked directly at Prince William, and spoke a few measured words that instantly changed the atmosphere. Her composed response made it clear that she intended to face the matter openly instead of allowing it to remain hidden. In the months leading up to this moment, Catherine had been carefully rebuilding her public role after stepping back because of illness. As Princess of Wales, she had dedicated herself to responsibilities that reflected her long-term commitment to families and communities throughout Britain. The initiative mentioned in the recording was expected to become one of her most significant projects, closely connected to the future direction of the monarchy. As William listened to the recording, he heard what sounded like instructions to shift that responsibility into an office overseen by the Queen. The conversation suggested that Catherine's team would only be informed after the arrangements had already been completed, raising serious questions about transparency and trust within the royal household. Before the recording reached its conclusion, Catherine quietly asked for it to be stopped. She insisted that the remaining audio should only be played once everyone involved was present to hear it together. William then noticed a handwritten label attached to the recorder, showing two sets of initials beside the meeting date. One belonged to an official whose voice had already been identified, while the other remained unfamiliar. As Catherine examined the label, she realized the situation was far more complicated than a disagreement over ceremonial duties. The recording pointed toward deeper concerns involving loyalty, authority, and decisions that had been made behind closed doors, setting the stage for a confrontation that could affect the future of the royal family. As Catherine reflected on what she had heard, one question continued to trouble her. Was the greatest betrayal the secret proposal itself, or the silence of those who had known about it and chosen not to speak? The recording revealed more than a disagreement over royal responsibilities. It exposed the personal fears driving each member of the family. Catherine worried that her role was being quietly reduced. Camilla feared losing influence as a new generation prepared to take center stage. Meanwhile, William found himself caught between supporting his wife and protecting his relationship with his father, King Charles. Behind the formal titles and public appearances, the situation had become a deeply personal family conflict built on uncertainty and fading trust. Later, when Catherine and William spoke privately, she asked him directly whether he had known about the proposed transfer. William immediately denied having any knowledge, but his brief hesitation before answering did not go unnoticed. Although he insisted he had never seen the plan, Catherine wondered whether he had sensed something was happening, but chose to avoid another difficult confrontation within the family. William understood why she questioned him, yet he also realized the impossible position he was in. Standing beside Catherine came naturally, but challenging the authority of the king carried consequences that could affect both his family and the future of the monarchy. At the same time, Queen Camilla received an unexpected message requesting her presence. Reading it carefully, she seemed to realize that the private discussion had somehow been exposed. She admitted to King Charles that information had left a room where it was never supposed to exist outside those walls. The king quickly recognized that the issue was no longer only about a family disagreement. It also suggested a serious breach of palace security. Before any accusations were made, William insisted that the complete recording should be heard from beginning to end. Only after every detail was known, he believed, could the truth be fairly understood and the people responsible be identified. Before meeting Catherine, Queen Camilla told King Charles that the events captured in the recording did not begin that day. According to her, the tension had started months earlier during a major royal ceremony. At the time, Catherine had been expected to lead a national childhood and family initiative, delivering the main speech and taking on its long-term ceremonial leadership. However, shortly before the event began, several important sections of her speech were quietly removed, and the closing remarks were reassigned without warning. Although Catherine maintained her composure in public, she immediately recognized that something significant had changed behind the scenes. After the ceremony, Camilla privately explained that the decision had been made to preserve the traditional order of the monarchy and was never intended as a personal attack. Catherine listened carefully before responding with quiet determination. She told the Queen that genuine respect could only exist when important decisions were discussed openly instead of being presented after they had already been made. Those words stayed with Camilla long after the event. Later that evening, during a restricted planning meeting, she instructed her private secretary to prepare documents that would transfer long-term oversight of the initiative away from Catherine's office. Although one advisor warned that such a move could appear unfair if it ever became public, the proposal continued under the description of routine continuity planning. At the time, Catherine had no knowledge of those private discussions. Only after hearing the recording did she realize that the uncomfortable moment at the ceremony had been connected to a much larger plan developing behind closed doors. What she had once believed was a single misunderstanding now appeared to be part of a broader effort to reduce her future responsibilities. As the pieces finally came together, Catherine understood that the issue was no longer about one event or one decision. It had become a serious question of trust, leadership, and the future balance of authority within the royal family. When Catherine and Camilla finally met face to face, there were no advisors, cameras, or palace staff present to influence the conversation. Prince William sat beside Catherine while the recorder rested on the table between them. Before Camilla could explain herself, Catherine quietly pressed play. As the recording filled the room, every carefully prepared explanation began to lose its strength. The conversation made it increasingly clear that the proposal had not been an accident or a misunderstanding, but a deliberate plan discussed behind closed doors. Catherine listened without interrupting, allowing the recording to speak for itself. As the audio continued, Catherine calmly questioned why her temporary absence during illness had been treated as a reason to permanently reduce the responsibilities she had spent years building. Camilla defended her actions by saying she believed the initiative needed stable leadership during an uncertain period. Catherine acknowledged the concern, but asked the one question that no explanation could avoid. Why had no one spoken to her before making such an important decision? The room fell silent because there was no convincing answer. When the recording reached its final moments, an official asked whether the proposal should first be reviewed by Prince William. Camilla's recorded response suggested the process should be completed before he had the opportunity to challenge it. That final exchange changed everything. William quietly placed his pen on the table and firmly stated that no decision affecting Catherine's responsibilities would ever move forward again without her full knowledge and agreement. Camilla reminded him that the king still held the highest authority, but both William and Catherine understood that the matter had now grown beyond a private family disagreement. It had become a question of leadership, accountability, and the future direction of the monarchy. Catherine calmly pushed the recorder toward Camilla and said that King Charles deserved to hear every word. At that moment, the private dispute moved one step closer to becoming an issue that only the king could resolve. The complete transcript reached King Charles early the next morning. Alone in his office, he carefully read every page, paying close attention to the sections describing the proposed transfer of Catherine's responsibilities. One passage immediately caught his attention. It suggested that Prince William should be kept unaware until the process had already been completed. The king quietly removed his glasses and reflected on what he had read. While he understood the need to support stability within the monarchy, he also realized that decisions made in secrecy could seriously damage trust inside the royal family. Soon afterward, Prince William met privately with his father. He explained that Catherine had never abandoned her duties by choice and that using her period of recovery as a reason to permanently reduce her role was deeply unfair. William argued that loyalty should never be mistaken for weakness and that important responsibilities could not be reassigned without honesty and proper consultation. King Charles listened carefully before asking whether the situation had also affected the trust between father and son.